Hi, hello. It's the LaSala show. My guest today, Mr. Daniele Bolelli. Did I say that correctly, sir?
You are damn right.
Now, for those who don't know, okay, this is the guy's podcast you should be listening to, not mine. But he has graced me with his presence today to speak on some things, and I'm just so happy you're here, sir. How say you?
Good, man. Thank you so much for having me.
It's an honor. And I was just listening to a bunch of your shows last night in preparation because, you know, it's just, you've helped me through so many things. Like with you just have like a cutting way of putting things into perspective and really, I mean, you had a podcast, I guess, a couple months ago about depression, and it really hit me, and like it made me realize what I was going through that much better.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's like we all go through the same things to one degree or another. Of course, not everybody experience everything the same, but like if you go through something, sometimes it's useful to find those right words that capture what's happening. Not because it's foreign to you, far from it, it's familiar to you, but maybe somebody says something in a way that makes something click. And, you've heard that same message 5,200 times, but that one time is expressed in a way that makes you go, I can use this.
That's exactly it. And it's just, the clarity that comes with some of your points is just unbelievable. But what are you going through right now personally with the whole lockdown, the COVID, all this nonsense? How is it affecting you personally? I'm
kind of a homebody anyway. And, compared to a lot of people who have had it bad, mine has not been that bad because, I'm teaching right now. I just switch all my teaching to online because all the college campuses are closed. Podcasting I can do at home anyway. It sucks to see less friends or to only see them outdoors or that kind of stuff. And, one thing I definitely miss is training martial arts with other people beside my girlfriend. I mean, I can train with my girlfriend at home, but that's about it.
Right.
So that part I miss. I miss, for my daughter to be able to have play dates with her friends or something like that. So those things definitely suck.
Yeah.
At the same time, both with my daughter, with my girlfriend, we've been spending a whole lot of time together. We have been doing a lot of fun stuff. So there have been advantages too.
Absolutely. Your daughter is like going to rule the world one day. Is that
much?
Is she a reincarnated soul, or what's going on with her?
She's tripping. She's definitely tripping. On the reincarnated soul, I don't know what the hell I believe or I don't believe about anything. But I did have. I remember one experience that really freaked me out when she was little. She was probably 2 years old, or maybe even less, and I was in a rough period, and she, like, the moment when I would put her down for her nap was like my oxygen because I finally could get something done. And so I put her down for her nap, and finally, yes, I have this moment. And then 5 minutes later, she started crying, and I'm like, no. So I go back up, I do the whole ritual again, put her back to sleep. Okay, finally, round 2, I can get it. And then 3 minutes later, she cried again, and she woke up. And I realized she's not going to sleep. It's pretty much. And that was the end of the naps fairly early on.
Right.
And I remember going up there, and that was really the straw that broke the camel's back. I was just like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I can't do this anymore. I don't have the physical and mental energy. I'm stretching too many directions. I went up there, I just put a hand on her to let her know I'm here, I'm with you. But I wasn't even looking at her. I wasn't even making eye contact. I was so bummed. I was like, I have no energy left, and I don't know how we're going to do this because my energy is kind of needed to keep the whole show going here. And she's crying. I have my hand on her. I'm just with my hand hanging down. And all of a sudden, I hear like mid-cry. She's kind of like, and she cuts mid-cry, and I'm like, what the hell happened? Is she okay? And I look up, and she's just staring at me, like eye in the eye, perfect eye contact. And she grabs my hand without breaking eye contact, and very slowly she starts caressing my hand. And I get this feeling throughout this whole thing of like, she was kind of telling me like, I know this sucks. I know it's hard. This is going to be okay. And it was weird because for a moment there, like the whole thing lasted 30 seconds, right? And then she went to be in her baby self and whatever. But like for those 30 seconds, I had a distinct feeling that that was not my 2-year-old daughter. There was it was her, but it wasn't her. You know what I mean? There was something else coming through, and it was powerful as hell. And I remember just looking at her like, who are you? Who is this person right here? You know, feels different. And it was bizarre. It was very bizarre.
So, what are your thoughts on death and what happens? I mean, you mentioned you don't really have a belief necessarily, but what keeps you going? That like sort of prompts your faith in any sort of way.
I mean, I've seen and experienced enough stuff to make me think that the material world is not it, that there's more to it. But of course, what is more is, I have no idea. You know, there have been enough things happening in my life where you go like, yeah, that's a lot more than one coincidence here and there. There are too many things that tell me that there's a bigger picture. But of course, I don't have the slightest clue what this bigger picture entails.
Damn it! I was hoping you had.
Yeah,
I was hoping you had the answer.
No, I mean, it was weird. Even like recently, and again, you know, some people could try to explain it away in some way, but like last few weeks, both my father and my grandmother died.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And when my father died, it was strange. I was like the day before, we're having a thing for him, and I'm on Facebook replying to people, messages asking me where is he gonna be, all that kind of stuff. And in my notification, I see pop up a thing with his name saying he liked a certain post, and I'm like, okay. So I go look at that post, and it's a post that was done after he died. So I'm like, that's weird. So the only thing is somebody hacked him or something, right? But then I go look in the people who actually like the post. His name is not there. But I open my notifications and his name is there. And I refreshed it like 3 different times, and always, you know, his name was there, like he liked the post in my notification and he was not on the post. And then I refreshed one more time and the whole thing disappeared. And I was like,
wow,
that's a weird one.
That was Zuckerberg.
Yeah, I was like, okay, that was a strange one.
Wow.
So, I don't know. I mean, I definitely don't have a strict materialistic worldview, but that doesn't mean that I know what's up.
Right. Well, it's just, I feel like I'm cursed by thinking about it too much. Like, do you find yourself dwelling at all? I mean, especially you have a child, a girlfriend.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like the more people you have in your life, for some reason or another, you start getting worried for them, and you take on everybody else's shit as well. It's scary.
It is. It's very scary. It's because I mean it's something that we all need to deal with because everybody dies. You know, we die. The people we love die. It's not an if or it's a guarantee. It's just a matter of when. So it's definitely unsettling for sure. The existential anxiety, I think, is at the roots of pretty much every other religion, every other. You know, so many things that human beings go through psychologically, or the things they do deal with them trying to grapple with existential anxiety.
Right. And part of me is a little jealous of having a religion and just thinking, hey, everything's going to be okay because I've been doing this, this, and this, and going to church on Sundays and following these laws of society or whatever. And I feel like some people just don't even, they go without thinking about it for days, months. You know, some people never even conceive, oh, I'm just going to go to heaven. That's it. So it's fine.
Oh, yeah. That's you can see the popularity of those things.
Right.
There's a very obvious reason why they are popular.
Yeah. I'd rather be dumb and happy.
Right.
Just dumb.
Yeah, I mean that.
Okay, so what happened at the Capitol building, and is that cause for concern moving forward, do you think?
And I think the problem is that people live in entirely different realities right now. There's no agreement on what constitutes facts or evidence. And I mean, somebody the other day sent me a link going like, so did you see that Trump is going to be president for a second term now because he orchestrated this whole thing to just root out all the traitors? And here is an affidavit from Italy that proves it. And I look at this affidavit and it's like, first, it's in English. If it's an affidavit in Italy, you write it in Italian. There's not a single stamp anywhere. There's not a witness signature. The guy managed to get his own home address wrong. It's literally some dude who typed on a piece of paper poorly and in the wrong language. And I'm like, how in the universe any adult can look at that and consider it evidence of anything? I was just like, oh my God, this is hard because it's, if you have a view of reality where you don't recognize the same facts as facts, how do you have a conversation? If it's like somebody's absolutely sure that 2 and 2 is 5, how do you even begin to say, no, look, 1, 2, 1, 2, you put them together, it's 4. And it's like, no, it's 5. And it's like, I don't know how we go on from there,
Yeah, it's like arguing with a toddler, basically.
Yeah, it's just like, that's a bit of a problem. And I think that it's happening on such a massive level where nobody trusts the same sources of information, and also just people don't have the tools to analyze evidence and figure out what's vaguely credible and what's not.
Right.
That's a problem.
It's a little scary. It's eye-opening, and I've always just like thought of adults as being the smart ones, just by default. Oh, they're old, they're smart. And
right.
It's like my whole world is crashing down on me. Like, oh wait, all these people are actually morons. Like even the people in charge. Like what? I've been bamboozled.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's the realization.
Oh, it's frightening. We kind of look like the laughing stock of the world right now.
Yeah, I mean it's embarrassing. It's flat out.
All right.
Yeah,
so, that's very dark though. We were talking about. I want to go out on this lighter note because I want to know how you balance being like a fun father with like also being responsible, and
sure.
you do a lot of you dance naked for New Year's or whatever. You're a fun dad, but then how do you reel it in so that you keep it together?
I think like my approach to parenting has always been with my daughter, look, I'm not your enemy, I'm not your boss, I'm not the one who tells you what to do. We have the same exact goals, which is you want to be happy and you want to be healthy. And I have the exact same goals for you. So there's no disagreement on the goals. The only thing we need to figure out, and we'll do that together, is strategy. How do we make sure that you're happy and you're healthy? So, strategy... It's kind of harder to compromise on goals if the goals are radically different. But if the goals are the same, compromising on strategy is no biggie. It's a lot easier. And so, you trust my judgment because you know that I'm not out there to just squash your fun, that if it's at all reasonably possible, I want you to have as much fun as possible. I trust yours. You just know that I have a little more experience, but that's about, then let's figure it out together. I don't want it to be you don't do something because I tell you, no, I'm your father, and you run off to do it behind my back. Because that's a classic reaction. If the only way to get something going is by cracking down the whip and say, these are my rules, what everybody inevitably does is, great, as soon as you turn your back, I'll go around it. I don't want that. I want we have a plan of action together that makes sense to both of us, and we work through it. That's it. So to me, that's like people always freak out about, oh my God, when my kids are going to be teenagers, all that kind of stuff. I may be proven wrong by facts, but I have zero freakouts about it because there's nothing to rebel against. You know what I mean? There's no hard authority where I come down hard and say, no, you can't have that. It's part of a conversation where we strategize together to make sure that both conditions are satisfied. They are happy and they are healthy. That's it.
That's a good plan. It seems like an even trade-off as well.
Yeah, and it's how else should it be, Right. And I understand not all kids are the same. Some kids may require more structure, more cracking down. That's not my experience, so that's kind of how I like to play it.
And do you practice this because of anything that your father interacted with you? Like how are you taking in what your childhood was like when it comes to now your daughter?
Yeah, I mean, my parents were more or less similar to this. Like there was a little bit of cracking down, but really not much at all. And in some way that was helpful. Like I give you an example. Like my mom, I remember like first time I started smoking weed. Right. I remember like my mom was like, if you want to try, you try. It's not a big deal. As long as you understand that to try once at your age is one thing, doing it all the time is a different story. One is totally fine, one is not. And similarly, like then when I wanted to try cigarettes, my mom was like, okay, you tried. That's it. Because the thing is, tobacco, especially industrial tobacco, it's really fucking bad for you. It's a terrible addiction and it messes you up. And pretty much everyone I knew by the time, late junior high school, more or less everyone I knew started smoking. I didn't. And I was the one who had way more allowance to do things on my own terms.
Right.
And not because my mom told me, no, you can't smoke. It's because my mom said, look, I'm down with you doing stuff for fun to try. I'm not down with you doing stuff that hurts you. And I think you're not an idiot. So you understand that too, right? That developing an addiction is not a good thing. And I was like, yeah, that seems pretty straightforward. And so then I was like, even though I probably smoke before anyone else, I also didn't do it as a habit the way other people did.
Right. Yeah, it's sort of like in France and probably Italy, they let kids drink much earlier, and then it's not like some built-up thing that they binge on, and they take.
To me, I mean, you got to learn how to drink. You know what I mean? It's like you learn that there's a sweet spot where it's fun, where it's a lot of fun, and you pass that sweet spot, and it's not fun anymore, and it messes you up, and it's nasty. So get into that sweet spot, recognizing it, going like, this is it, and having very clear in mind that you're not trying to go makes drinking pleasurable rather than becoming either an addiction, or even if it's not an addiction, just being a dumbass and just, getting insanely drunk, throwing up over yourself. And it's like, that's just gross. Why do you want to do that,
Get into fights, screaming.
Yeah. It's like, no, that's not a good way to go. So to me, it's like, teach people how to drink. What's a healthy way to use it versus what's addictive behavior.
Right.
But the just say no approach to parenting, whether it's to alcohol, whether it's to anything else, the just say no doesn't work because people are just going to do it behind your back.
Right. All right. I have a couple of fan questions just because I'm such a big fan. It's going to sound cheesy, but what was it like being on Joe Rogan's show?
It was weird because the first time I was on Rogan's show, it was 2011, was the end of 2011, and I was in a really awful period. My wife had died that same year. I was alone taking care of my daughter. My career was going to shit. I had no money. I stressed beyond belief. Physically, I felt like crap, probably because of all the stress. And so when I went on Rogan's show, there was zero intimidation factor or thinking too hard about it. I was like, look, I don't know if I'm alive next week. What do I care about? What people think? Pressure, bunch of people listening. Who cares? It's like, so I was super relaxed. I didn't know anything about podcasting. Before Joe arrived, I met Redban, and I was like, what the hell are we like? What is it? And he's like, it's kind of like a radio, but you can cast. And I was like, cool. And then, it's actually funny now that I think about it, because I think I was one of the first, I don't want to say the first, but I was probably one of the first guests that Rogan saw as quote unquote serious guests.
Right.
We had primarily athletes and comedians. And so I remember he was making a big deal of the fact that I was teaching college, like I was going to be all like stuffy. And I was like, and so it was fun. And we hit it off, and he called me again and again, and he told me a bunch. That was very useful.
Yeah. Well, I just love hearing you two speak. It's so fun. And again, also with you and Duncan Trussell. I mean, I spent a night with him. Well, I basically clung on to him after one of his shows, and he was like, "All right, show me like the coolest bar here in New Orleans."
Nice.
So it was like like a pack of like 8 of us, and we all went to this bar, and it was just like hanging out with one of your buddies. And so that's what I always feel like whenever I'm listening to you guys talk. It's just like I'm just not in the same room as y'all, but I'm hanging out.
Yeah.
Just like I'm there.
Drunken is awesome. Yeah, he's great.
Well, Daniele, it's just surreal to be talking to you. You're such a great guy, and thank you so much for being on the show.
Of course, man.
I would love to have you back anytime you would take me. You're going from like 1.3 million listeners from the Rogan show, or even whatever you put out with the Drunken Taoist. Shout out. And are you still doing History on Fire?
Yeah. History on Fire, what I did is I do that one. There's a ton of episodes that are free out there. But then, like a couple of years ago, I signed with Luminary. So I still put out 2 new episodes per year of that, kind of like Dan Carlin pace. But then I have the other 13 episodes per year, the new ones. The older ones are all on iTunes and stuff, but the new ones, they are just on Luminary. Okay. And they, I'm not, I understand that paywalls kind of suck for everybody. At the same time, the free model of podcasting doesn't really work that well in terms of making a living of it. And unfortunately, Stonefire is have to make a living of it because the time investment is so brutal that, doing 15 episodes a year of that is a total full-time job. It's probably 0.1 and a half a full-time job.
It's just like you're writing a book for each episode.
Yeah, it's kind of the equivalent if you were, I summed it up even in words that you use and stuff. It's about writing maybe 3 books per year, which is an insane pace because who the hell writes 3 books per year, It's like, so it's, yes, unfortunately, it needs to pay. And otherwise, there's just no time to do it.
Yeah, I feel you. Well, thank you for giving me some of your time. And I wish I had money I could send you,
It's all good.
our invincible advertisers, like, I don't know, MeUndies or that shaving, whatever. But we'll get there, and it's guys like you that's going to help me out. So you're the fucking man, and I love you, and have a great day, sir.
Cool, man. Thank you so much. Have a great one. Bye.